Hello and welcome back to Machine Learning. I'm Javita Christie, and in this video, we are going to talk about the simple linear regression. So let's begin. Some common regression algorithms are simple linear regression, multiple linear regression, polynomial regression, multivariate adaptive regression splines, logistic regression, and maximum likelihood estimation, which is also known as least squares. And we are going to see most of these in the upcoming videos. But in this video in particular, we are going to talk about the simple linear regression. So what exactly is the simple linear regression? As you can see over here, the simple linear regression contains this equation, which is y is equal to a plus bx. And this equation can be of different form if you see different books. And it doesn't matter what form it is in, it means the same thing. The variable right here is the dependent variable. This variable x is independent variable, so that means you will be using x to predict y. And this constant over here is known as the y-intercept. So it is where exactly the line y is touching the y-axis, this whole line where it is touching the y-axis. The B stands for the slope of the line. So if you look at this diagram right here, we have x and y axis. This is y, which you can see here. Okay, and this line right here that you see going up, that is your y equal to a plus bx line, the linear regression line. And you can see this line is touching the y-axis at this point. So this is known as the y-intercept. And if you create a perpendicular line like this to the y-axis, the angle at which this line is inclined is known as the slope, okay, which we saw here. So B is the slope. Now, what is the slope of a linear regression? It represents how much the line in a graph changes in the vertical direction over a change in the horizontal direction, okay? So slope is nothing but change in y divided by change in x. And rise is the change in y-axis, which is y2 minus y1, and run is the change in x-axis, which is x2 minus x1. So there are two things, rise and run. Rise is for y-axis, run is for x-axis. Here you can see this in the diagram. This is my line. Okay, these are the points. This point is x1, y1, and this point is x2, y2 in the graph. And if you want to find out the rise, pick a point over here, and what you see here, this y2 minus y1, because we are connecting these 2 points. So you're connecting these 2 points. This is the point you get. At this point, y2 minus y1 is known as the rise, and x2 minus x1 is known as the run. So slope is rise divided by run, and this is the formula, which is pretty easy to understand. There are different types of slopes available. So first we have the linear positive slope. We have curve linear positive slope, linear negative slope, curve linear negative slope. Okay, let's take a look at the linear positive slope. So whenever you have slope equal to rise upon run, and you are calculating this value, which is also known as delta y upon delta x, scenario one that you have for a positive slope is that delta y is positive and delta x is also positive, in which case your slope will look like this, and it is known as a linear positive slope. Okay, you can also have a scenario 2 for a positive slope where the delta y is negative, but the delta x is also negative. Okay, previously both were positive, here both are negative. That can be your scenario 2. And for both scenarios, you can say it is a linear positive slope. Now, if we talk about curve linear positive slopes, okay, then you can see in this graph, in all these graphs, the slope is upward from left to right, right? So you have the slope which is calculated in the same way, but for a variable x, it may vary between two graphs. Okay, it will always be positive. So These graphs are called curve linear positive slopes because the slope that is there is in the form of a curve instead of a straight line. You can also have a linear negative slope. So a negative slope always moves downwards instead of moving upwards. So you can have one scenario where delta y and delta x both are different, which means y is positive, x is negative. And the other scenario where delta y is negative, but delta x is positive. So that is an example of a linear negative slope. You can also have curve linear negative slope, where the slope is moving downwards. As you can see, it's going downwards in both all three graphs. Okay, so slope will always be negative, but it will be in the form of a curve, which is why it is a curve linear negative slope. Sometimes you can also have a graph with no relationship, which means you're not able to make a line or a curve to create a relationship or a linear regression line between them because the graph is so scattered. In that case, there is no slope, okay, because there is no line. There's no relationship between x and y, and that is what your graph looks like when there's no relationship between x and y. Now we need to talk about errors in simple linear regression because we know that trying to fit all those points onto one line is not going to really help us because it's not going to really help us if we are not able to measure the accuracy. When we try to fit so many of the points on just one line, you'll always have errors when you're trying to predict something. Okay, so the prediction is quite accurate, but it's not completely accurate. So there are errors. And what are those errors, right? So we have the slope intercept format algorithms where x and y values are there. B is the slope. Okay, there's also an intercept. But identifying the exact match for these A and B values is not always possible. There are errors, and those errors are calculated by epsilon. Okay, it is also called marginal or residual error. And usually the equation is modified like this to show the error, which is y is equal to a plus bx plus epsilon, and this epsilon is the error. Let's take an example. So we have some marks given of students for internal and external exams, and we have created a graph for that, a scatter plot. So you can see internal exam, all the marks are given here. External exam is on y-axis. We have plotted all the data over here and created a regression line. So what is residual error? Residual error is the distance of this point from the line. So ideally, what we are trying to say is that this point is maybe something like 12 for internal exams and 30 for external exams. Okay, that's the actual value. But in reality, when the internal exam is 12, your regression line is saying that external marks should have been 40. So that is our residual error. Now, a straight line is you always try to draw a straight line that is as close as possible over the points on a scatter plot, right? And to do that, because we want to reduce this amount of error that is happening. So to reduce the amount of error, we have to use an algorithm or technique known as the ordinary least squares technique, which is denoted by OLS. And it will minimize this error epsilon, which is the difference, the distance or difference between the actual values of y and the predicted values of y. And to do that, you have to first, to apply this OLS technique, you have to first sum all the errors, take a sum of all the errors, right? More appropriately, take it is known as the SSE, which is sum of the squares of the errors, which is like this. And that is used in order to minimize these errors. So it is observed that SSE is the least when you calculate B using this. Okay, so what exactly this is? You have all the values of x and y. So you just have to subtract all you just have to take all values of x, and from there you subtract the average, which is bar x, and take all values of y, subtract the average, which is bar y, and divide that by xi minus bar x whole square. Take a sum of all that. It is actually covariance of x by x comma y, and variance of divide by variance of x. And when you calculate this value of b in this way, then your SSE, which is the sum of sum of the errors, which we just saw epsilon square, that is going to be minimum if you calculate the value of b in this manner. Okay, and once you have the value of b, you can calculate the value of a by just placing the values of y, x, and b into your equation, and you can get the value of a. So what is the OLS algorithm? First, you will calculate the mean of x and y. Then you will calculate the errors of x and y. Then you will calculate the product between those two, right? And get the summation of those products. And then you take a square difference of x, which we saw the denominator, get the sum of this squared difference, and then divide the output of step 4 by the output of step 6 to calculate the value of b, which we just saw in the formula. So this is just the formula in words. Once you've calculated b, you can calculate the value of a using this value of b. So that's what happens. And here is an example to show you how this happens in practice. So we have here different values. So these are all the values of x. These are all the values of y. And our first step over here, you can see step 1 is to do the total. Okay, sorry, is to do the average. So the average of x is 19.9. For y, it is 56.8. Okay, that is bar x and bar y. Step 2 right here is to calculate x minus bar x, y minus bar y. So these are all the values of x minus bar x and y minus bar y. Once you've done that, step 3 is to calculate x minus bar x into y minus bar y, which means you just multiply these two columns over here. Okay, multiply, and whatever answer comes, put it over here. Next, you have to calculate xi minus bar x whole square. You've already calculated xi minus bar x over here in this column. You now just have to take the square of that. So we've taken squares of all those values right here. That is, of course, step 5. Step 4, we missed it. So step 4 is nothing but taking the total of these values. So we have taken the total of all these values. This multiplication values, which is for 429.8. And the total step 6 is taking total of all these values, which is 226.9335. Okay. And finally, your step 8 is to calculate the value of A. We know that the value of B is very simple. Step 7, calculating value of B, is just taking this value and dividing it by this value, which gives you 1.89. Now, since you have value of B, you can calculate A by using this equation. A is equal to bar y minus B bar x, and that is 56.8 minus 1.89 into 19.9. We have values of bar x and bar y here as well, and you will be getting 19.05. So these values are set to minimize the errors. Let's take a look at how to implement regression. So in this case, we are importing all these libraries, pandas for reading our CSV files and for handling the arrays, train test split module from the sklearn.model selection, because we want to split our data into training and testing. Mean squared error and R2 score from sklearn.metrics, because we want to calculate the accuracy of our model. We studied this during our video. And we want to import the linear model from sklearn to be able to implement the linear regression. Now, in this case, the file that we are using is this file about AutoMPG. So what we are going to do here, this file contains all these columns. Okay, it contains the cylinders, number of cylinders, the displacement, horsepower, weight, acceleration of different kinds of cars. And MPG stands for miles per gallon. So using all these parameters, we can predict the miles per gallon. And for the purpose of this exercise, okay, there's also one extra function here done, which is drop NA, which means wherever you have some empty rows or columns or something like that, you will be dropping those. Okay, you will be dropping the rows which do not have any values. And then we will split our data into predictors and target. So the predictors are going to be these columns 1, 2, 4, and 5. So I have selected cylinders, displacement. So that is 1, 2. 4 and 5 is weight and acceleration. So using the weight, cylinders, displacement, weight, and acceleration, we want to predict the value of MPG. Okay, so predictors are those columns. The target is the MPG column, which is the first one. So it is 0. Next, what we are doing is using this train test split module to split our data. So 30% of the data goes for testing, rest is for training. This you're quite familiar with by now. Next, we create the linear regression model by using the linear model which we imported earlier and call the linear regression function. So, and store that as an object of ln. Then we try to fit the predictors training data and the target training data into our model by using ln.fit. Next, we want to make predictions. So this time we will pass the predictors test data and expect it to predict for us the target values. And later we can check the accuracy by two measures. We can use the mean squared error. To do that, we just use the mean squared error function and pass into it the test, the actual values and the predicted values. And you can also use the R2 score, pass into it the predicted values and the actual values. So this is the R2 score. So this is how you can calculate the accuracy of your regression model. So I hope you understood all this. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.